communal, multinational, and multidisciplinary life have survived and flourished in a rather intimate family atmosphere, where really we have had limited resources. Our experience has shown that the close follow-up of the students' lives can only bear good fruit. That faithfulness to our religious tradition need not exclude others. That Armenian branches can be engrafted in the cedar tree to beautify Lebanon further. That the liberal arts American system, in its Lebanese form of education, can positively guide even those who are neither American nor liberal. Haigazian University was an educational project in 1955, but the Haigazian passion lies in profound roots of sacrifice. The university was not founded by Haigazian. The university was not founded by Armenian Haigazian. It was rather founded to honor him, a victim of the Armenian genocide, someone who was called by the New York Times in 1922 as the most prominent educator in the Near East. And today, on our 55th anniversary, it is with deep gratitude that we're going to enjoy the words of the youngest grandchild of that Armenak Haigazian. As we celebrate this anniversary, I pray for renewal of our will to not only live, but to serve all people without discrimination, to celebrate the fact that Lebanon is a country of service and a country that deserves our best. Allow me then to very briefly introduce the Haigazian grandchild, Dr. Alan Strawn, a family psychotherapist in private practice in the state of California. He has earned his PhD in transpersonal psychology from the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology in Menlo Park, California. He's an author with research on childhood dreams and trauma. He has joined our community this week with his dear wife, Janet, you're welcome as well, a psychotherapist herself. Forgive me to add that Dr. Strawn's main credential for being here is not his PhD. His credential for being with us today is that he is really the grandchild of Armenak Haigazian. And I hope I will be forgiven for saying that. Which for us speaks volumes of sacrifice, volumes of PhDs, and gives deep meaning to who we are and what we want to do in this place. Dr. Strawn, I'm sure we all, especially our graduates, are eager to hear you, reflect, and guide. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest, Dr. Strawn.
I feel very honored to be speaking here with you today. I wish to thank in particular your president, Dr. Paul Haigazian, for inviting me here, as well as the trustees and the faculty. You've been exceedingly generous in inviting not only me, but my wife Janet as well, and we're very grateful to you. And most of all, I wish to extend my heartfelt congratulations to you, the class of 2010. Earning a college degree is a very significant rite of passage, the product of many years and countless hours of diligence, and you should all be very proud of yourselves. I have lived my entire life in California, very far from this university in Beirut, and very far from Konya, Turkey, where my grandfather, Armenak Haigazian, lived with his family and worked as an educator. Despite that physical distance, I have been linked with this university throughout my life, and therefore with all of you, by matters of the heart. I will try to explain this to you as best I can. And in order to do this, I need to say a few words about my family. By all accounts, my grandfather was a brilliant scholar, graduating from college when he was 17 or 18 years old, versed in at least 12 languages, recipient of a PhD in Semitic languages and biblical literature from Yale, an author of textbooks on biology, logic, psychology, an Armenian English dictionary, and a voluminous encyclopedia. He was also an ordained minister and an accomplished musician. My grandfather returned to Konya after 5 years of study in the United States and became the head of the Apostolic Institute in 1900, where he remained for the next 20 years. During these years, my grandparents had 6 children, all girls, born between 1903 and 1917. My mother, Armine, was their youngest daughter, and I am her youngest son, and also the youngest of Arminag and Matilda's many grandchildren. I'm sure all of you know that during this period, Armenians lived a precarious existence under Turkish rule. My grandfather and his family often lived in fear for their lives. However, they escaped harm because of my grandfather's position as a theologian and educator, and because of the sympathetic Turkish citizens in Konya. But in 1920, with ongoing atrocities still being committed, my grandfather decided it was too dangerous for the family to remain in their homeland. He sent his wife and their daughters out of the country and eventually to the United States. Before his family left Konya, my grandfather measured and marked on the wall the height of each of his 6 children. Every evening he went to this wall and kissed them goodnight. With great courage and the spirit of service that exemplified his life, my grandfather remained in Konya to oversee the school and ultimately to tend to its closure. My mother, Armine, was only 2.5 years old when she left Konya, and she was never to see her father again. My grandfather's scholarly accomplishments were considerable, yet I believe that it was his character, the quality of his heart, that made him truly exceptional. One indication of this is the love and caring he expressed to his students at the Institute. Here is a passage written later in life by a student at that school. I love my school, and it was a great joy for me to go there. I now realize what a humble, good, and capable principal was Dr. Haigazian. We all loved and respected him. He was very firm, but kind at the same time. He always spoke gently with us and was never known to scold any of us. Dr. Haigazian was interested in all our activities. He often came and sat under the pear tree and watched us while we worked, talking and joking with us. He sometimes visited our class while we were having lessons. We were never embarrassed by his presence because he always came in gently with a friendly smile, his hands behind his back. He listened while we read or answered questions, and he always left the room with a word of encouragement and praise. My grandfather's good-heartedness and his love for his family also were expressed in the many letters he wrote to them while they were separated. In 1921, as my grandfather was in the process of closing the school and preparing to leave the country, he was arrested by the Turkish authorities. After his arrest, my grandfather became ill during a forced march. According to one report, his treatment was deliberately delayed by a medical and health officer. He was forced to stay outdoors for a week as he became increasingly ill. When he finally was admitted to the hospital, it was discovered that he had contracted typhus. During this time, he was visited by an American doctor. Here is a passage from a letter that doctor wrote to my grandmother. Dr. Haigazian told me that he felt certain that his time had come, and he said he was ready to go. I tried to reason with him that we needed him there in Harput, and his people needed him, but he felt, and rightly perhaps, that our Father in heaven had more need for him above, and he was calling him. He spoke to me of you all and sent messages of love to you and your daughters. He was very quiet and slept a great deal that last few days. Sometimes the nurse would hear him singing some of the good old hymns to himself. He had little or no pain, only felt weak and tired. It was Sunday afternoon, July 3rd, that they overheard him singing that grand old hymn, Just As I Am. Here are 2 of the final stanzas from that hymn. Just as I am, though tossed about with many a conflict, many a doubt, fightings and fears within, without. O Lamb of God, I come, I come. Just as I am, thou wilt receive, wilt welcome, pardon, cleanse, relieve. Because thy promise I believe, O Lamb of God, I come, I come. These were my grandfather's final words.